as very little of the machine remains after it was ripped apart by the bomb. The truth of this case can never be properly established unless you speak out. And if you decide not to, very possible that Court Seath will escape punishment for her crimes. Please, sir, own up to what you've done, and tell the court the truth about what happened. 10 years ago, you told the truth. But you were robbed of a bright and successful future as a result. I certainly understand your bitterness and your concession now. However, this is surely the chance you've been waiting for. To sever the hold the fates had over you all these years. Super high voltage instantaneous kineticus. I mean, really. It's the addle-brained mock scientists that are the worst, you know. Don't recognize the fact that they don't have talent. Can't even get that right. So they end up chasing impossible dreams, having unbridled faith in their abilities. They go on and on about their wonderful hypotheses. Stupid eyes shining like little children's. They make me sick. Can't abide their foolishness. Careful, Mr. DeBur. I was particularly pleased with the kineticus machine. It made for quite a show, didn't it? So you admit it? You admit that it was nothing more than a sham made for the purpose of killing the victim? Yes, I admit it. I did it all in the name of revenge. Revenge for the future that Mr. Osmond's article had deprived you of 10 years earlier. But the revenge you sought didn't stop at Osmond, did you? Which is where that very particular waxwork comes in. Yes, I see. A condemned convict that saw a rising from the grave in Lowgate Cemetery 10 years ago. If your account of those events was all true, then obviously Scotland Yard couldn't afford to acknowledge what had happened, even if it meant discrediting a bright young man, crushing any future career he might have had. So your plan required that you abduct that particular waxwork model, in order to exact your revenge on Scotland Yard as well. Or on Dr. Seath, to be precise. It was a year ago. By some extraordinary twist of fate, Osmond turned up at my workshop. He didn't remember who I was, of course. He just wanted to employ my services as an engineer. And he happened to have a paper with him. An article on the front page caught my eye about a coroner who had handled that bogus autopsy being appointed head of the new forensics team. When I learned that news, my cognitive processes started to devise the plan. What a horrid tale. He robbed me of my future, but I wanted to use the man's own wiles against him. For revenge. And have that rotted Scotland Yard eating out of my hand at the same time. I wanted them all to suffer the same humiliation I had to suffer! Your actions against those who ruined your future were justified as revenge. At least, to yourself. Certainly, no one has the right to destroy another's prospects, especially for purely selfish gain. And yet, in carrying out your plan, you did exactly that to someone else, didn't you? Did I? Professor Harebrain's only crime was passion for his hypothesis. But he had no complication about sacrificing his future to effect your revenge. You knew that he would be forever branded a failure and a fraud. Perhaps life treated you unfairly 10 years ago, and others misconducted left your life in tatters. Remember this. Your own actions result in exactly the same thing for another perfectly innocent young man. I. Lord Van Zieks, what of Dr. Seath? An immediate warrant for her arrest has been granted, and she's been remanded in custody, my lord. I presume she will face trial in the coming days, along with Mr. Drebber. A most regrettable situation indeed. He's made great contributions to our professions over the years. It really is a hard truth to swallow. However, that is a topic for some future occasion. But now, Professor Harebrain. Oh, yes! Seems there was a great deal more to your experiment than you realized. However, I think we can assume now that all the sordid details have been brought to light. This has been a very long and profound trial. I'm pleased to say you are absolutely absolved of all guilt. This whole experiment has taught me a very great but painful lesson. The scientist, this devoted of natural philosophy. I've been selfish and self-centered, and above all, a fool. Professor? I spent my life thinking of nothing but my research, mistakenly believing that I could do whatever I set my mind to, despite my lack of talent. And the worst of it is, in the process, I caused others pain and misery. Others who are far, far greater people than I. No, Professor, that's not true. What? Don't tar yourself with the same brush as Drebber. What happened was his doing and his alone. This outcome is his fate, not yours. You're not to blame in any way. Lord Van Zieks? The desertion with which we referred to you earlier, calling you a fool, talentless even. The man has no idea. To believe in yourself and work your fingers to the bone to realize your dreams. That's laudable, not laughable. No one has the right to deride another for such choices. Oh! Thank you, Barak. So, ladies and gentlemen, the jury. Yes, my lord. It is of this court's expectation that you find the defendant not guilty of the charge of which he stands accused. I presume there are no objections? None from me, my lord. Certainly not. This trial has really made me think, but this is the right decision. It's all been proven methodically and rigorously. I have no misgivings whatsoever.
And what's that? It's done? Is it? It's all over?
I don't know what's become of the guard these days. Don't recognize the place. Very well. In the case, I hereby pronounce the defendant not guilty.
Yay! That took way too long. We got way more guilty verdicts than I've ever seen before in every Ace Attorney. Kind of insane.
There's a lot of things that I just couldn't quite get it. Court is adjourned. It's over. That was some trial. The 24th of October, 4:33 p.m. Old Bailey. Defendant's antechamber. Professor! The splendid outcome, isn't it?
Oh, it is! Congratulations, Professor Hairbrain.
Mr. Naruto, Mr. Sato, I am truly... Beside myself of gratitude, how can I ever thank you enough? I'm just glad it's been all cleared up. That you realize you were just caught up in a bad situation. Right now, you know, if I had the research grant money, I give the whole lot to you, every penny. Well, that's very kind, but I'm just a student, so...
We don't need any financial reward. Your acquittal is more than enough.
Oh dear! Oh, what can I do? Aha! How about this? As a memento, the paper about my hypothesis is inside. Well, just as a memento then. Thank you.
I've been wondering, Professor. What are you going to do now?
Oh my. Yes, what am I going to do? My hypothesis and my great machine lie in ruin. But still, it's been too long since I last, in London. But perhaps I'll enjoy some sightseeing. I must explore the Great Exposition whilst I'm here too, and see if new inspiration hits me.
Oh yes, that's a wonderful idea.
I can't allow that. Lord Van Zieks? What are you doing in here? Brock! I'm sorry you had to go through that, Albert. Well, if I'm honest, it was terrifying. You were like a great demon behind your bench there, snarling down on your prey. You're one of the few true friends I have. I couldn't leave it to anybody else to handle the prosecution. Or the defense. Sorry? The defense? Did I just hear that right? I always knew that you had my best interest at heart. Don't worry. How about you show me around while I'm here in town? It's been a long time since we left university. We have a lot to catch up on. Listen, Albert. In a few days your acquittal will be made official. When that happens, you must head straight to Dover. I'll accompany you. What? From there you'll cross the channels and make your way back to Germany. I've already purchased the tickets. But no! Hold on a minute, Brock. What about the Great Exposition? This is the chance of a lifetime for me. I want to look around. No. No sightseeing, Albert. Give up on the idea. Sometimes it's hard to see any more than those eyes, Brock. Lord Van Zieks? What's all this about? Unnecessary precaution. Yes, I think I understand. You do? Well, Iris told me that when you met Lord Van Zieks at his office some days ago, he asked how Mr. Natsume was doing. Yes, that's right. I remember being surprised at the time and thinking it was nice of him to ask. The point is, Mr. Natsume is still alive and well. Even though it's been more than 6 months now since you stood trial with the Reaper as the prosecutor. Ah, you mean the Reaper's influence doesn't stretch overseas? Those in the Reaper's sights meet the ends days or sometimes months after the acquittal. That's been the pattern up to now. Of course, we know that both Mr. Natsume and Gina were completely innocent. True. Perhaps that governs the Reaper's actions. The truly innocent are spared. But I don't want to take any chances with a close personal friend. Barak! Like the mustached Nipponese, this man should leave the country without delay. That's why I'm packing him off to Germany at once. Right. Does your friend-shaped package get any say in it? Goodness. Was this your intention all along then, Lord Van Zieks? Where people think of him as the Reaper. This man seems absolutely merciless, and yet, sometimes I feel as though I don't understand him at all. It's time to go, Albert. Back to the prison for the time being. Oh, yes, alright. Well then, Mr. Naruto. Thank you so much for everything. Not at all, Professor. It was a pleasure getting to know you. Best wishes, Professor Hairbrain. Well, once the dust is settled, you must come and visit me in Germany. Anyway, goodbye for now. Now, my Nipponese friend. Oh, yes. I thought you had gone too. We have matters to discuss. Spare me some time. You want to talk with me? I'll be waiting in the courtroom in 10 minutes. Well, that was strange. For some reason, I didn't get that sense of impending doom he walked away this time. The enigma. Lord Van Zieks. What does he want to discuss? Wonder. Answer awaits in the courtroom, I suppose. Here goes then. The 24th of October, 4:58 p.m. Old Bailey Courtroom. Oh, it's going to show us who's inside that. So, are you satisfied? You saved a guileless scientist from a great injustice. Yes, I think so. I'm relieved, at least, that the man's innocence could be proven. Anyway, I imagine you've been wondering where my anonymous animosity towards you Nipponese comes from. Well, at first I thought you just didn't like me. I imagine you saw me as a pretentious child from an unimportant land who had no business being here. But now, I think differently. You clearly know your own ways. So, I would guess that some specific incident led to your sugar dislike of my race? Will you tell me what happened, please? The Professor. I thought I never heard that name in this courtroom again. To be honest. He took your brother's life? Killed. My brother was killed Van Zieks. 16 years ago, when I was still just in my teens, he was already the director of prosecutions and a key member of the judiciary. I looked up to him. He was everything I aspired to be. He was involved in the establishment of justice systems in foreign countries as well. There were exchange programs between Britain and other nations then too, to share knowledge and ideas. As part of one of those programs, 3 judicial students came to Britain from your homeland, the Empire of Japan. Oh! It was 16 years ago, then one of them could have been my father? Of course. I remember Dr. Mikatoba well. I had no idea. I was a minor at the time, training at the prosecutor's office. One day, Kilt introduced me to the 3 visiting Nipponese. So, you've actually met my father? He and his colleagues were polite and amicable. They were adept at their work and exacting in their standards. It was my first encounter with the Nipponese spirit and made a very great impression upon me. But 6 years later, that's when it happened. Investigation was going nowhere. There were no suspects even. Just an ever-growing list of victims. And in the end, my brother became one of them. The last, in fact, before the case was finally resolved. I'm so sorry, Lord Van Zieks. Truly. Kilt was always ready to put his life on the line for justice anyway. So he wouldn't have wanted it any other way. He lost his life to a killer, but it was his victory in the end. For me personally, though, it was a great loss. I found myself in a very dark place indeed. When I finally found the killer's identity, the reason why no one had been able to catch the man sooner ceased to be such a mystery. He'd been hiding in plain sight all the time. In plain sight? Are you aware of political events 10 years ago? It was a period of extremely sensitive diplomatic between the British and Japanese empires. A new treaty was being forged, I think. Correct. The Anglo-Japanese Treaty of Friendship and Navigation was being concluded. The leaders of both countries were deep in extensive political discussions. Which is why these particular killers' appearance in court was conducted as a closed trial. If the British public had known the identity of the killer, not only would the treaty have been in jeopardy, but our 2 nations could very well have ended up at war. What? A war? Between Britain and Japan? That would mean... Oh my. You mean to say the professor was...
When the trial reached its conclusion earlier, I thought to myself, yes, it's time. Time for you to come face to face with this hideous monster. I borrowed the key for the mask from the proprietress of the Waxwork Museum. So see for yourselves now. Confirm it with your own eyes. The truth that's been hidden this past decade.
That's the professor?
Yes, that's him.
Until now, the thought never even crossed my mind. That the mass murderer, whose crimes shook Britain as never before, was Japanese.
Wait a minute. That face. I feel as though I've seen it somewhere. It's strangely familiar.
Father.
What? Father? Kazuma!
He's still around. Let's go! I'm so
My best
happy.
friend, Kazuma Asogi. After a whole year, finally his memories returned.
He's alive! Oh my god!
As he stood there before me,
Oh.
Ryunosuke.
hello again. My friend.
Kazuma-sama!
Judicial Assistant Mikotoba. It's been a very long road. Thank you. Thank you for guiding my friend here when I could not.
Oh.
It was an honor.
I knew you wouldn't die that easily. Kazuma.
Oh. Okay, Bones.
I owe you thanks, too, for taking good care of that in my absence.
Oh. Karuma. Great blade of the Asogi clan. Passed down through the generations. When we left Japan, this sword was at my friend's side. A Japanese man's katana is his soul, and he couldn't be parted from it. But then, when the incident happened, it was Susato-san's wish that I inherit the sword, and I've kept it with me ever since, along with my memories of the friendship we shared. With this by my side, I always felt that you were watching over me somehow.
I've made it. At last. Father.
Are you saying... Surely not. You mean, you knew all this time? I'm looking at it, but I still can't believe it. This mass murderer is Kazuma's father.
Damn. Cool as hell.
Kazuma-sama.
Ryunosuke, we have much to talk about, but now is not the time. I'll be seeing you.
Oh, that was so cool! Oh my god, he actually is
That's
back.
all Kazuma said. Before he turned and left us there, in the courtroom.
So he's the living after image of the man who took my brother's life.
Is he? Yes. Kazuma Asuki. My best friend. 3 months ago, when Lord Strong had introduced us, I had an inkling there was something there. Some connection. Why did Lord Strongheart do that? Why do you make Cosmo Lord Van Zieks' apprentice? And when he was suffering amnesia too. The man was apprehended, even executed. His legacy just won't die. That's the sad truth. Anyway, that's all I had to say. I thank you for the meeting with me, as I asked. "10 years ago, my grandmother took me to the railway station. We were there to meet my father from the train. For me, it was the first time I've ever seen him. Sato-san, all this is tied up with painful memories for her too. Never talked about this with me before, though. It took time to adjust to having father around, but just when I was starting to get used to it, he called me into his study one day. He told me that a great friend of his had passed away in London, and that the friend had left behind a son, a boy, 7 years my senior. Father told me the boy had made a promise to his late father, so he was studying to become a defense lawyer. I wanted to help, so I studied to become a qualified judicial assistant. As I'm sure you've worked out, that young man's name was Kazuma Asuki. So you see, that's how he and I met.
For a brief moment, my great friend had returned, only to disappear again all too soon. But in that fleeting encounter, something stirred. Something that had been dormant for a long time. As if great wheels had been set in motion. I could almost hear them creaking into life. In some ways, it was the end of a chapter, but in many, it was the start of a new one.